What's up, everybody? It is 7/17/2022, and that means that it's time for 413 Sports Talk 394. MLB All-Star break is continuing as the draft is later this afternoon. The Baltimore Orioles have the number 1 overall pick, third time in 5 years. So something's fucking rigged, or they just really suck. They've shown flashes this year, I'm not going to lie. They've beaten teams who I didn't think they would. They've scored a lot of runs, even in games that they've lost. So there definitely has been some growth had with the Baltimore Orioles baseball club. Anyway, NFL run continues today as we dive into a group of guys I've labeled the disruptors. Other than that, shoot, might as well just start that episode with that section, right? Here it is, the disruptors, NFL hashtag runs. Today's NFL values a few key positions. Above all, quarterback, wide receiver, and cornerback, and also pass rusher, edge rusher, outside linebacker, whatever term you want to throw on it. The latter group has a responsibility to get to the quarterback. They must disrupt an offense's rhythm and attempt to move the football. It seems as though I got the thumbs up with yesterday's group of defensive backs, so might as well continue. In this breakdown, I'm using the next-gen stats and the data to examine the league's top disruptors from 2021. Disruptors are defined not just by sacks, but plays in which they affect an opposing quarterback, like deflection, a hit. A hit will change the trajectory of a pass. Next-gen stats defines a hurry as an instance in which a defender gets within 2 yards, a yard and a half within the quarterback at any moment between the snap and the release of the pass or a sack. Under pressure is when the defender is within 2 yards of the quarterback at the time of releasing the pass, or within a yard and a half. You kind of get it. The sack is what it is, a sack. I'm taking a closer look at quarterback pressures this time around. Quarterback pressure rate, hurries, sacks, and turnovers caused by quarterback pressure. Turnover quarterback pressure to determine who has the best overall skill set at disrupting quarterbacks in 2021. So without further ado, let's go. Because this section took me a little while to write. Leonard Floyd, a defensive end for the LA Rams, might know him as former Chicago Bear as well. Quarterback pressure, his number was 58. The rate was 12.8%. So that's how often he was in the face of the quarterback. That's pretty damn good. 39 hurries, 9.5 sacks, and total quarterback pressures would be 1. Granted, Leonard Floyd got traded and had an injury too, but played well down the stretch, and as we all know, the Los Angeles Rams were eventual Super Bowl champions. It was revealed last week that Floyd played through the entire 2021 season with an ankle injury that required surgery. With that in mind, his 2021 performance was even more impressive. After posting 10.5 sacks in his first season with the Rams, Floyd followed it up with 9.5, but an even better quarterback pressure rate, and he finished in 2020 12.8% compared to 9.9. He's blossomed as a Ram after struggling with the Bears, trying to find consistency in his game. As he was just straight off the edge every single snap, and it's boom or bust. You either got the quarterback every time, or it's a miss, and then you go up against a top tackle, and they know all the tricks. The David Bakhtiari's, the Trent Williamses, they know all the stuff. So you're not really gonna get by guys like that. Posts more sacks in 2 seasons in LA than he did in 4 years in Chicago, which is notable. Should he continue this trend in his He's aged 30 years old. His birthday is on September 8th. We will have a trio of seasons of which he can be proud. He'll just have to complete the ankle rehab, come back with that same excitement, that same spark. Though he will be a situational player, I don't see Leonard Floyd as being a 3-down starter. I think that kind of left his career 3 or 4 years ago, but he definitely has a lot left in the tank and is a situational matchup nightmare. Anyway, Javon Hargrave, defensive tackle for the Eagles. This one kind of like threw guys off. I know that. Quarterback pressure 58, while the rate was 15%. 22 hurries, 7.5 sacks, and 3 turnovers forced by quarterback pressures. Hargrave shined in his second season playing alongside Fletcher Cox, the ageless wonder. This guy earned his first Pro Bowl nod this year as well, posting a career-high 7.5 sacks and 3 turnovers caused via pressure. Cox capitalized on one of those turnovers, recovering a fumble forced by Hargrave for a touchdown against Dallas in Week 3. And the trend continued. Though Philadelphia as a team struggled, this defense kind of found itself. Hargrave operates on the defensive interior most of the time, the nose tackle or the DT position, which means he has to fight through more resistance to reach the quarterback on a per down basis than, let's say, an edge rusher who's just worrying about the tackle, or maybe a halfback that was sent out to kind of like help in blitz protection. Still, he registered a quarterback pressure percentage of 15, which is good for 7th best in the NFL. Minimum 200 snaps. So those 3 turnovers caused by pressure stand out in comparison to his counterparts on the interior, as it's hard to consistently force turnovers, to force fumbles, and things like that when you're playing the interior. Philadelphia will carry high hopes for Hargrave and Cox in 2022, while also welcoming first-round selection, that fucking beast out of Georgia, Jordan Davis. And could you just like imagine trying to run, like even if Philly was to go big, right, and have three defensive tackles, and let's just say they'll put one end on the right side. Just that, you're not getting through that. I'm sorry. There's just no way. Your quarterback's gonna be flat, or you hand off the ball to the halfback and he's gonna get fucked up too. There is no way. And any halfback could run through those 3, especially playing at the same time. Get out of here. Number 8, Aaron Donald, defensive tackle for the Los Angeles Rams. Sorry that he's up this high. 64 quarterback pressures, and he was in the QB's face 10.8% of the time. 12.5 sacks and a turnover forced by pressure, and a fucking Super Bowl MVP. Donald is now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Is as consistent as they come, and his performance is even more impressive considering the nature of his position. The players in front of him on this list rush from the edge, where they tend to face one-on-one situations, as I alluded to with the last guy, against tackles and maybe the occasional halfback. But Donald is tasked with fighting through bulkier blockers along the interior. He'll face double and sometimes triple teams, and even tackles coming inside to play a little guard, and that's usually when things get a little chippy and when he plays at his best. Yet he has the strength just to take on anybody, and that's what sets him apart from other defensive tackles in the league. Anyway, his quarterback pressure percentage is the lowest of any player on this list, but keep in mind that he plays more snaps than others by a considerable margin. Still, Donald registered a pressure rate above 10%, which is, it's not a big ask, but it's adequate. Finishing with 64 in all total pressures, so he was in the quarterback's face quite often. He pushed through the interior traffic for 12.5 sacks, caused 1 turnover via pressure, and, well, we know what happened. Super Bowl champion. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer whenever he decides to hang him up. One of the best players, in my opinion, to ever play the defensive tackle position. And, I grew up on guys like Anthony McFarland and Warren Sapp, Gilbert Brown for the Green Bay Packers, just to name a few. But Aaron Donald's a fucking beast. Number 7 for the San Francisco 49ers, edge rusher Nick Bosa. 68 quarterback pressures, 14.7% of the time. This dude really, when he catches fire and he's blowing past these offensive linemen, you go, watch out. Brother, maybe not so much, but 45 hurries, 15.5 sacks, 1 turnover via pressure. Talk about a bounce back season. His 2020 campaign was cut short by that torn ACL suffered in League 2. But that didn't stop him from making a massive impact for a rejuvenated Niners club in 2021. Bosa finished 4th in the NFL in total quarterback pressures with 68, and sacks 15.5, and 8th in quarterback pressure rate 14%. The best area for him to improve in 2022 is just to force more turnovers, I guess, if you're really trying to nitpick his game anywhere. 1 is a start, but 3 or 4 could position him much higher on this list with the year to come. Number 6, Myles Garrett, defensive end / defensive tackle for the Cleveland Browns. 66 quarterback pressures. His rate was 13.6%. 43 hurries, 16 sacks, and 3 turnovers via quarterback pressure. Garrett should be used, you guys should be used to seeing him appear on this list by now, usually around 6'5", 4. He finished atop this list in 2019 and was 4th last year. He's only a bit lower this year, I would say, because of the performances of those ranked ahead of him. Some guys had better games than him. It happens occasionally. Garrett still improved, going from 12 sacks to 16, and he remained in running for the league in sacks, as well as the Defensive Player of the Year award with Pittsburgh Steeler T.J. Watt. Garrett and Nick Bosa were about as close as it gets when it comes to comparable production as pass rushers. And the sole reason I think he ranks ahead of Bosa's by the slimmest of margins, mind you, is because of the plays he made that tend to affect the game the most. The ones that that swing the momentum. And usually this is a guy who's responsible for things like that. It's kind of think, all right, so if Myles Garrett's 3 turnovers are caused by pressure, compared to 1 for Bosa, what stands out most is, I guess you would say, Bosa in this situation, and it's exactly what the Browns have come to expect from Myles Garrett. If we put you inside, you stop the run. You rush the pass too, but that's not as much his responsibility inside. But he does stand out. He's a significant differentiator in production. When he's rushing, he only has to worry about a tackle on the outside. This guy can flat out play. And it's with the compliment on the defensive line. Now, please, Jadeveon Clowney is back in the fold for 2022. They're going to try to win a Lombardi one more time. We should expect more of the same from him. And watch the way that Brown's defensive coordinator pencils Clowney and kind of puts him in the secondary. You'll see him as a Mike linebacker, and he'll even come on the line and play hard with the front 7. Number 5, Yannick Ngakoue. He's one of my favorites. He used to play for the Ravens. Plays for the Colts now, but played for the Raiders in 2021 after being traded from Baltimore. 71 quarterback pressures, 14.5% rate, 49 hurries, 10 sacks, and 4 turnovers forced by pressures. And granted, he missed 3 games. And Ngakoue posted more sacks than his then teammate Max Crosby in 2021. As you know, they kept Max Crosby, gave him the 4-year, $98 million extension. But Max wasn't as consistent on a per-rush basis. Regardless, though, this was clearly the best edge rushing tandem last season, without a doubt. And the Raiders have a chance to hold on to that crown with another premier rusher, who they just signed, Chandler Jones from the Arizona Cardinals, replacing Ngakoue, who's traded to Indy in March. You gotta like what Indy's got going on up there. They've always had a decent defensive line. Anyway, Ngakoue made his lone season in Las Vegas count, finishing 3rd in quarterback pressures with 71, posting 10 sacks and causing 4 turnovers via pressure. Ngakoue's sack rate was higher than Crosby's, 2% to 1.5, but he lands 2 spots below Crosby on this list because of his superior volume and pressure rate, and I personally think Max Crosby's tool belt's a bit deeper. And just to be honest, number 4, Michael Parsons, linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. He was the unanimous 2021 NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. 59 quarterback pressures. He was in the quarterback's face 21.1% on 36 hurries, 13 sacks, and 4 turnovers forced by pressure. I was surprised that 13 sacks that's the number that jumped out to me. Never mind the fact that he was in the quarterback's face over 20%. One of the top numbers in the league. I know what you think when you first hear those numbers, so there's like Parsons wasn't an every down rusher. That's what's fucking crazy. He was primarily an off-ball linebacker, which sparks an interesting debate when it comes to this exercise. With less pass rushing responsibility, Parsons might have benefited from being assigned to get after the quarterback in more advantageous situations. But the flip side of that argument is the reality that he was rushing less. Meaning he had fewer chances to make an impact in the facet of the game, and he certainly maximized the few opportunities that he had. Parsons fell short of the gross totals posted by most of the players listed here when it came to quarterback pressures, I know, but he led the league in quarterback pressure rate at 21.1%, finished with 13 sacks and getting home on 4.7% of all pass rushers, which was good enough for a number 2. Add in the 4 turnovers caused by pressure, which is creative. Parsons proved to be quite the disruptive defender in his rookie year. Number 3, Max Crosby, defensive end for the Las Vegas Raiders. As we talked about a couple of weeks ago with Myles Garrett, he was going to come up here. 82 quarterback pressures last year, 15.7 quarterback pressure rates, 53 hurries, 8 sacks, 3 turnovers forced by the pressures. That sack number is low for a guy who they just almost gave a $100 million contract to. Chosen the 4th round of the 2019 draft, he has been a slam dunk selection. The Eastern Michigan product has 25 sacks through his first 3 seasons, and after failing to make the list last year, Crosby made sure he didn't miss out again. He led the NFL in quarterback pressures, posting a pressure rate north of 15%, while forcing 3 turnovers in this style of play. The lone downside to Crosby's statistical resume is the sack total. He was excellent at putting heat on the quarterback, don't get me wrong, but he didn't quite finish the job as much as one would like his edge rusher to. I want to see at least get to the quarterback 10, 12 and a half times a year. But he still is well worth that contract extension he got. Just like to see more in the lines of getting to the quarterback. Number 2, T.J. Watt, outside linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This guy was the 2021 NFL Defensive Player of the Year. 60 pressures at a 16.3% clip, 43 hurries, 22.5 sacks, and 3 pressures. 3 turnovers caused by pressure. Defensive Player of the Year. What else am I going to say? Watt tied the all-time season sack record in 2021. He was a half a sack away from having that record, despite missing 2.5 games. He posted the highest single sack rate of the next gen stats era, which has basically been since 2016, at 6.1%. Also, he owns the highest sack rate, 3.7% over the duration of the NGS era minimum. He had more than 1,500 snaps in doing so. He's more efficient at getting home than any rusher in the history of next gen stats, which is however, he's second on this list because a player from a division rival happened to post the 4th highest quarterback pressure rate in a single season in NGS history and forced 5 turnovers via pressure in 2021. And my number 1 guy is the workhorse, who did not get enough credit for what he did. So, that is Cincinnati Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson. calm down again. I know. 79 pressures, 79 quarterback pressures, 19.4 rate, 45 hurries, 14 sacks, and 5 turnovers via just being engaged with linemen. Those numbers are pretty good. And when you're looking at guys to get to the quarterback, this is a perfect formula to use. And in 2021, these guys statistically kind of like match. It's all like a puzzle. I do not expect Trey Hendrickson to have 14 sacks this year. We might tone it down a little bit, like 9.5, maybe 10. They did get a third rusher behind him, so he will be splitting time. Oh, third rounder. Oof. Forgot his name. So I don't expect the gaudiness in those numbers to be the same this season. Some in the football world likely saw his breakout 2020 campaign as a fluke too. Let's just start with that, right? And they raised both eyebrows at the Bengals when they signed him to that 4-year, $60 million deal. Like, oh fuck, here we go. In hindsight, that deal looks like a bargain now. Hendrickson followed up his 13.5 sack performance, which helped him earn the number 3 spot on the list a year ago, and motherfuckers were hating, by registering 79 pressures, 14 sacks. Pressure rate of 19.4% is 4th best in the NGS era since 2016. We're going to repeat that again. What truly separated him, in my eyes, from the pack was his ability to cause takeaways, not just forced fumbles, getting the hits on the quarterback and forcing throws to come out before they want to. He forced 5 turnovers via pressure, not really, getting just being locked in with the offensive linemen, tying with Marcus Golden, Randy Gregory, Chandler Jones, and Odafe Owe for the league lead. Odafe Owe. I think that's the other guy that plays for Cincy. He's a fucking freak too. Only one player from that group had a strong enough body of work overall for me to say, he was the number 1 guy, and it was Trey Hendrickson. It was good enough to put him at the top of it. And that's it for the NFL Ranked. 2 back tomorrow for episode 395, because we got 3 more sections in store for you. So, Washington Nets, Juan Soto rejects a 15-year, $440 million contract. That's it. And with what followed, that whole bullshit he went through with the All-Star game, and the team not chartering a flight, and it's and then the hotel, he didn't stay with the team either. Why would you sign with them? They flat out refused to charter him to the game. It was on the plane with regular civilians. Come on now, how much more disrespect you gonna show me? He still got it. He does. Pitcher from my childhood days, Justin Verlander, currently of the Houston Astros, passes Bob Gibson and Red Sox legend Curt Schilling, with this, the 39-year-old who left the game 2 years due to Tommy John surgery. Justin Verlander, yes, on the all-time strikeouts list. Now, going into his 9th All-Star game, Verlander leads all active players in strikes. 3,121 past Curt Schilling and 3,117 past Bob Gibson to slide into 14th place. He did so by striking out 10 batters in 6 efficient innings as the Stros beat Oakland 5-zip. Justin Verlander's ERA dropped down to 1.89 and improved to 12-3 with his win-loss. His bullpen had his back with 3 different pitchers throwing scoreless innings to secure the shutout against the American League's worst team. Seattle Mariners, who are 50-42, beat the Rangers in 10 innings thanks to J.P. Crawford's walk-off single. They win 3-2 and have now won 13 straight games, and the record for this franchise sits at 15. They have won 21 of the last 24 overall and are on pace to either match or break the magic number of 116. Yes, 21 years ago, Seattle won 116 games, believe it or not, and they were in playoff contention. So no All-Star game. Now this is one of these injuries. It's like weird. It's like he's not even injured. Jose Altuve from the Houston Astros, San Francisco's Carlos Rodon, and Miami's Jazz Chisholm Jr. They're all scratches. I understand Jazz had the ankle injury, but San Francisco's pitcher, there's like nothing listed. It's kind of odd. New York Yankees pitcher Luis Severino's right shoulder won't throw for at least 2 weeks as he recovers from an injury. And we will continue with MLB scores. Minnesota 6, Chicago White Sox 3, St. Louis 11, Cincy 3. In a doubleheader, we got the Mets over the Cubs 2-1. In the second game, they took care of them 4-3. Toronto 6, Kansas City 5 in 10 innings, Colorado 2, Pittsburgh 0, Atlanta 6, Washington 3, Seattle 3, Texas 2, Baltimore 6, Tampa Bay 4, Cleveland 10, Detroit nothing. Wow. Did not see the Guardians scored in 10 runs there. Houston 5, Oakland nothing, Philly 10, Miami 0, New York Yankees 14, Boston Red Sox 1. I heard to say. San Francisco 2, Milwaukee 1, San Diego 4, Arizona 3, and LA Dodgers over the Los Angeles Angels 7-1. Now that's 2 games in a row in the Battle for LA series that the Dodgers have won. On to NBA Summer League. Portland over the Knicks 85-77. Toronto over Milwaukee 80-69. Phoenix over Indy 84-69. New Orleans over OKC 107-71. Washington 87. Golden State 77. Utah 82. Denver 72. And on to the WNBA. Chicago Sky over the Dallas Wings 89-81. Chicago wins its 19th game on the year. That's 5 in a row, and they have secured a playoff spot, which is awesome. And this is the end of episode 394. Thank you so much for your continued support of the show. As always, for real. Summer is past its halfway point, I'd say. It only gets more exciting from here as the good sports come back. MLB postseason, NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA basketball, NCAA football. This part of the year is always best, and we will see you tomorrow with episode 395.